So, in a recent turn of events with regards to the Cleopatra documentary on Netflix, I put documentary in air quotes because it's really not a true documentary. The reviews are in from the critics and the audience. On Rotten Tomatoes, it got a 10% from the critics and a 2% from the audience. And I'm just thinking like, gee, I wonder why this got such a shitty rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Could it be that they deliberately race swapped or blackwashed uh, historical figures or figures from the Ptolemaic era of Egypt? And could it also be that there are numerous historical inaccuracies, and there's numerous inaccuracies not just with the race swapping, but with how they're dressed and how Alexandria is depicted. And based on what I've heard from the trailer, because I'm not going to waste my time watching this, the dialogue also sounds like cringe as fuck. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why the 10% is, very valid. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't go with the 2%, the way the audience did, but let's see what these reviews say. Um, It is patchy sub Game of Thrones cosplay interwoven with academics you've never heard of. Um, I mean, seems pretty accurate. I mean, this review seems pretty accurate. I can understand the Game of Thrones vibe based on what I've seen. And yeah, some of the academics that they have in this documentary, there's one in particular, Dr. Sally Ann Ashton, I think, who runs a blog where she promotes the quote unquote Africanity or African centered uh, research of Egypt. And you can tell that she has a confirmation bias. And I quite honestly think she's kind of a grifter because she can't, there's no way she could back up the arguments that she makes on her blog and in this documentary. Like if you really sat down to like debate with her and like push back on her. But yeah, like the fact I think she just makes these she's like pandering to a certain demographic or audience when she's or I should say uh a certain ideology with regards to the arguments she makes. And like I said, I don't you pressed her on it. She couldn't really back up her arguments if you provide counters with you know if you provide counter arguments with uh the genetics, the archaeology backing up uh what you're saying. But yeah, I don't think she actually believes what she says. But yeah, regardless. Overall, it's not very good. Overall, it lacks context, personality, and reason for being made. Um, I think the only reason I could see this was made is that Jada Pinkett Smith has an agenda, and she has, also confirmation bias. So she wants to give sort of a air or a uh, you know, sort of the image that she is that she has authority on this subject, and that this documentary is authoritative and is, can be trusted with regards to, you know, uh, its objectivity. Um, and but yeah, I think she has an agenda, and she wanted to make it for that reason. Um, Reenactments, mostly florid, are brought back to Earth with excellent background provided by experts. It's stunning how much is known about the Queen. Hers was an extraordinary life, but much of what we know, thanks to Hollywood, is pure rot. Uh, let's see. Okay, so most of these reviews are just about like the script of the documentary. Let's see what the audience says. as an amateur early Roman history buff, I had the opportunity to read a good deal about Cleopatra. She was definitely an enigma, brilliant politician. This show has so many historically accurate events to pull from, yet manufactures things to what appeared to be no end whatsoever. It falls flat in almost every way. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. There's probably one of the big reasons why it's getting such a shitty rating on Rotten Tomatoes is how historically inaccurate it is, and uh, in various aspects. Dull and uninteresting. Uh, let's see. Uh, okay, so this person's pointing out how the writing sucked, the fighting choreography. I saw some of that in uh the trailer, and it looked pretty corny. Um, oh, here we go. This was supposed to be a documentary, but there is nothing remotely connected to any archaeological or historical evidence involved. The speaker has no real credentials or evidence to back their claims. Makeup and fashion is absolutely horrible and disconnected from what should have been. They even displayed Cleopatra suiciding by eating a date. Yeah, she was bitten. Well, there's I think several versions of her suicide. Uh, what happened during her suicide? The one I know is that she had herself bitten by a Egyptian cobra or asp. But yeah, I mean that person's right on the money. This documentary, quote unquote, doesn't seem to be accurate at all, and it's more of a dramatization or even like a I would to be quite honest, it's just Afrocentrist propaganda, and there's nothing of value that will come from this documentary. So, and I want to compare it with in case anyone was going to say like historical documentaries always get not so great scores on Rotten Tomatoes. I just wanted to compare it to a historical slash archaeological documentary, uh, sort of like a big history archaeology documentary or series, I should say, because it's like 7, 8 episodes that I really enjoyed. It's called Mankind: The Story of All of Us, which got an 83%, and that's because it's engaging. Uh, like it says here, mankind offers a surface level glance at humanity's origins, but the breadth of history covered will intrigue all sapiens turning in. So yeah, it pulls you in. It's able to, uh, like it says here, intrigue and capture the interest of anyone who's watching, and like get them interested in in the history of mankind. Um, and above, also it was uh the historical accuracy was there. As you know, it had actual experts being interviewed, and above all else, it had the casting was done correctly. It had what appeared to be Middle Eastern or modern Egyptians playing the ancient Egyptians. Uh, it seemed that Southern Europeans were playing the Greeks and Romans. I remember Saint Perpetua was played by what appeared to be a Mediterranean looking, Middle Eastern looking woman. So casting was not an issue for them. Like they seemed to have accurate casting, and yeah, the um overall the history and the research was well done, and yeah, it was a actual historically accurate documentary. So, and also the actress who plays Cleopatra was not too pleased with the backlash, and she blames it on racism. She thinks that it's fundamentally racist when the modern Egyptians are rightfully angry at Jada Pinkett Smith promoting an Afrocentrist agenda, and when whether it be layman history buffs or people who've actually studied history, like rightfully call out the inaccuracies of this documentary, including having someone of a different race play Cleopatra, who I'm going to keep beating this drum and hammering it home. she was Macedonian Greek. We have a pretty good idea of who both her parents were, Ptolemy the 12th and Cleopatra the 5th. And most classicists agree that she was mostly Macedonian Greek with some Iranian Persian ancestry. So basically, she did not look like this. She looked more like the busts and coins that we have depicting her. But yeah, no, Adele, it's not racist to, call out this documentary and debunk it. Um, and this is like the classic woke tactic. Anything that disagrees with their worldview, it must be rooted in racism. Um, but no, criticizing this documentary is not racist. It's just it's rightfully calling it out for the inaccuracies.